Welcome to everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Thank you. What a great crowd on this stormy, wet day. We're going to begin, and I would invite the Southside Elementary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. And the first order of business is welcome to the Southside Elementary School and Principal Jennifer Smith. And thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Ready?
Yes.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm Jennifer Smith. I'm principal at Southside Elementary. We are a small rural school with a student population of about 175 located in Coquilala, Idaho. We are also a STEM certified school, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and we have been certified for the last 5 years. So today we have brought our STEM leader, Miss Lynette Leonard, and our chief science officers, who are all 6th graders, to show us what STEM is at Southside Elementary, what it looks like, and to lead us in some Thank you.
Okay, so I am Lynette Leonard. I am the CSO advisor and the STEM coordinator at the school. And every year we, our CSOs, this is our 2nd year of CSOs, and so they, it's a new program, and they are going to share with you what Southside does with their presentation on how our STEM is incorporated in the classroom and in our STEM Smart Lab, which is one of 3 in the state of Idaho.
Hello, I'm Chief Science Officer Charlie, and these are Southside Elementary's SOAR cards. SOAR stands for Safety, On Task, Attitude, and Responsibility. They are used as a reward for when a student is demonstrating any of these things. And once a week on Friday, we have a SOAR card drawing, and whoever gets drawn gets to choose a prize.
Hi, my name is Paisley and I'm Chief Science Officer at Southside Elementary. A CSO's mission is to create STEM opportunities in their communities. One big part of being a CSO is to create STEM-based action plans to impact their environments. Chief Science Officers impact their environments by bringing student voices together with community leaders.
Hi, my name is Maddie and I'm the Chief Science Officer at Southside Elementary. Today I will be telling you what our classes are doing related to STEM. K and 3rd graders have collaborated and are doing a force motion PBLs and weather PBLs. 1st graders are working on the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. 2nd graders are doing a field guide to Coquilala.
Hello, my name is Grace, and I'm the Chief Science Officer at Southside Elementary. Classes at Southside are doing building thinking classrooms. We do a lot of teamwork and communication during these activities. Also while doing math on whiteboards. As the classes are doing the activity, there will be 3 kids in a group, and one of them will have a marker while the other 2 will be telling the person with the marker how to solve the problem. Sometimes we switch throughout the problems, or someone gets the marker when there is a new problem.
Hello, my name is Lucas. I'm a Chief Science Officer at Southside Elementary. New this year at Southside are Invent Idaho, STEM clubs, and morning announcements. Invent Idaho is where kids have a problem and they use STEAM to solve it. This year, 5 kids went to state, and Adam in our 5th grade got STEM clubs is where kids stay inside and play chess, Legos, and fly drones. But they use STEM. Morning announcements are when the CSOs tell every kid in the school what is going on and what today is like the news.
Hi, my name is Brooke, and I'm a Chief Science Officer at Southside Elementary. In Smart Lab, kindergartners are learning about engineering and force of motion. Like kindergarten, 2nd grade is learning about engineering as well as architecture and 3D printing. 5th grade is working on animating fractions. 3rd graders are doing VR or virtual reality, which is where you have a screen over your face and there's sound and it feels like you're in that world, and they're doing this. You'll be doing the same kind of activities as the 1st and 3rd graders with the robotic coding. 6th graders are learning about heart rate, which is an activity you'll also be doing. I hope you enjoy the STEM activities. Your goal for the rover is to code it and drive it through an obstacle course, and your challenge with the heart rate is to do different activities and see if your heart rate is average to that of an adult.
Wait, we have to do that?
Alright, so this would be the interactive portion of the presentation.
Okay, boys, grab your, I have a heart rate.
Okay, well, sorry, just one
Okay, for those 3. Please sit down. I don't want you passing out on me. It's hot and just, if you need to go to the kitchen, want some water?
so yeah.
I think it seems like are we driving that thing around, Lucas?
And it's not
Are you
always
pretty good at it?
completely accurate.
Oh, that's what.
It'll actually take track of it.
How am I supposed to hold on?
All right, just have him drive it. You don't have time to set up.
How am I doing? My heart's beating.
Where's that?
Look at you.
I'm waiting.
I set that down and been the driver. Hey, try it.
That's all you're gonna do.
So, evidently,
What'd you go up to? Wait.
so I have my curve.
Okay. Well, that's super judgy.
Okay, now it looks better than long.
I don't know.
I was definitely
flatlining right there for a minute.
It takes a while for
There's a
it.
shocker.
And
The black hole where heart is.
Okay,
Why are you really going to the worst
we
forward?
have to get back to our thing, but I definitely want to have it on record that I beat Ronnie, okay?
Get it in the minutes.
Put that in the minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Spread the feet open. I'm going through the wickets. Who's next?
I got you.
Stay there.
Okay.
Yours is not. You should do mine, man. It's not the same, dude. Wait, it is. Oh, you can go full thing. Mine showed up to like
190. Yeah. Train moves.
All right, sorry, you can't do this right.
I just use my old thumb there around the thing.
Good job, you guys.
I think I nailed it though.
Good work.
Are you
I have to say, I thought when it said now it's your turn to try these, I still thought the students were doing it. I wasn't ready, but at least I have my tennies on today.
All right, so we just want to thank you for letting us present. And to clarify, we have one student going to nationals for Invent Idaho.
That's terrific. Congratulations.
Here's from the board some brownies from the pantry for you guys to share with
Yeah,
us.
your students ran out
Where
of
they
here.
went.
Yeah.
So tell them that the board
They did.
and I said they should.
I think this was the part where I was supposed to ask, do you have any questions for our students?
We're very impressed. And,
Please go share the brownies.
Well, thank you.
it's great. I'm really impressed at the level of things that all of your students are doing from kindergarten on up. And I think it's kind of the beauty of having a small school is you really get to have that personal interaction between each of them. And it sounds like amazing projects. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they ran out of here like we're done.
And Kelly is putting it in the minutes that I beat Bonnie. So I would like to invite the Lake Pondere Alternative High School students up for a presentation. And we welcome Principal Luke Childers.
Savannah. You need me to do anything? Yeah, I don't know what
Welcome. Thank you.
You're fine. You ready, crew? Right on. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you for having us here. My name is Luke Childers. I'm the proud principal of Lake Pondere Alternative High School. And I'd like to introduce my presenters today that are going to present about their water science course that is the capstone course of our science program at Lake Pondere High School. We have here Mr. Caden Harper, Emily Hogan, Solis Peterson, Jada Chubb, Kylan Cook, Luke Dameron, and visiting us from Idaho, University of Idaho is Tallulah Stafford.
All right, so this is our water science class. We're focusing on finding local problems in our watershed and in the end trying to come up with a solution for them. We have guest speakers coming in to just show us what they do and the part they play in it. We have field trips to apply what we're learning in the classroom to the class in general. We have a research project that we're all working on. We have groups, and we're going to go to the Water Summit, which has 10 schools participating in it. Last year we did win, or the last time we went. We are supported by the Kootenai Environmental Alliance, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, IDAH2O, and the University of Idaho.
Great.
One of our biggest research tools is our guest speakers that come in. They're professionals in their fields. This was our first guest speaker. Her name was Amy Anderson, and she worked for Selkirk Conservation Alliance, and she came in and talked about watershed and water quality and how they affect us locally. And then on the right, that's Peter Youngblood. We followed him. We did a snow course with him. We get into that more later in the presentation. This was Erin Plew, and she works for Trout Unlimited, and she talked a lot about our cold water streams, so our local fish that are in danger because of all of our streams heating up for various reasons. And then on the right, that is Seth Oliver, and he was a geologist that works for the Confluence Project. And he came in and he talked a lot about groundwater and how we're reliant on wells a lot here, and how easy it is to pollute them and how hard it can be to clean them up.
Just like Jada said about our snow science trip, we went up to Schweitzer to go talk about snowpack, measure the layers, snow water equivalency, and just learn about how that affects our area, as 68% of Sandpoint does rely on their snowpack and the snowfall that we get in the springs and summers. And right now we are about at 73% of normal for the past years. So just learning how that concerns us and what that all means for us.
So like Jada was saying, we had Seth Oliver come in and another speaker named was Jenny, and she talked to us about groundwater and the severity of contaminating it. So a little fun fact, Sandpoint is the only area that doesn't necessarily rely on groundwater for agriculture and drinking. All of these surrounding areas rely on groundwater and wells. So for me, I live out in Trestle Creek and I have a well. So if you were to contaminate, say you spilt something on the ground, it would eventually get into my groundwater and I would eventually be drinking it at some point. So she kind of just talked to us about some of the factors that play into that. So for an example, you have the layers in the earth, and as that contaminant goes in through these layers, depending on what it is, say sand, it's going to get there a lot slower than it would with something big, like a big rock, you know. So she kind of just came in and talked to us about some of the factors, the seriousness in it and all. So, yeah.
And so we're going to be going to Round Lake to check the water quality. And while we're there, we're going to be collecting data on temperature, turbidity, and the population of macroinvertebrates. And some indicators of good water quality are insects like mayflies and caddisflies. And then if the water quality is bad, you'll see more leeches and flatworms. And we'll actually be sending our spreadsheet to the state to use in real data collection.
2 years ago, our LPO water science class noticed that whenever a large rain event occurred, our parking lot collected the rain in the northeast corner and then flooded into our storm drains and eventually went into our local waters. But with some help from the city of Sandpoint, a local contractor, and the Native Plant Society, we built this rain garden to filter the rain on its way back to the earth.
Hi, my name is Scylla Stafford. I'm a college freshman who graduated from LPO. I participated in the 2022 Youth Water Summit. This is a couple pictures of me and my partner's project, and here it is in real life. My partner and I noticed a cigarette issue near our school and wanted to highlight how cigarettes have a very negative impact on the stormwater that flows into our lake. Our project won our school first place in the Water Summit out of more than 200 other students from various schools. Now, like I said, I'm a freshman in college and I'm majoring in biology. In my first semester, I got a 4.0 and was admitted to the honors program.
Yeah, girl.
Thank you. And I really don't believe I would have discovered my passion for science, especially environmental science, without this project. And our amazing teacher and the one who teaches this class, Brenda, prepared me for college and supported me heavily in my pursuit of a higher education.
Excuse me, I did not mention earlier that Brenda Woodward's not able to be here tonight because she's actually taking more courses on water science as we speak down in Coeur d'Alene, and it just happened to be in the same exact schedule as this evening. Yes. Any questions?
So I have a very quick question. So this water program is second semester, year long, first semester?
So we do things in quarters at
That's right.
Lake Monterey High School, and so but this is a semester-long program where they do 2 quarters of it.
Okay.
One, they're getting all the research and all the learning portion, and then right now, actually, this afternoon, I got to walk into the classroom as they were presenting their topics that they're going to be actually individually diving into, or actually as teams.
Yeah.
And they're pretty amazing. They're going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Great.
So is this an an elective class?
No, it's actually
part of the science.
it's the capstone of our science program.
Yeah. Great.
Oh, yes, this and forestry. They swap everything.
Oh, I see. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciate your presentation to us, and it's very impressive. Thank you for keeping our water safe. I have one more quick question. She's going to hand you. Do the rest of you know what you want to do when you go forward after you graduate? Are you inspired by biology, or you just still think it's something in science?
Maybe mechanic.
Protect the water, though.
We should talk.
Yes. No, you can't
You guys
protect water.
have some brownies and some things from the pantry for you to share with all you students. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a great presentation. Thank you. So, I am we're inviting Technology Director Matt Brass here. Welcome. You're giving us an update. Thank you, students.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
You guys can have it.
How loud are you?
Pretty loud.
Okay, we're going to keep on with our meeting, and we'll thank you guys. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay.
Show and tell.
Oh, we do. We've got a whole thing going on. All right. So Dr. Meyer, she asked if I would come and go through some of the security updates that we've done over the last year. And so you can go to the first slide. So I wanted to just quickly go over, I think this is my 8th year, and I just wanted to quickly go over, when I started 8 years ago, we had an Informacast server that was hosted locally, and it was pretty sporadic what was here. It had been done by need, school by school, and so you would go to one school, maybe the high school, Sandpoint High School, and you would see more of the blue beacon lights, a few of the IP clocks and things like that, but it wasn't consistent. So in the last 8 years, we tried to bring some of the consistency up. We've been working school by school to try to get more security in place. We brought our network infrastructure up because clocks like this that are IP-based, they have to have what we call a home run. It has to have a cable run all the way back to the switching closet for every one of the devices. And that's one of the reasons that it takes quite a bit of effort to get those installed. It takes time where kids aren't in the building, and so a lot of the summer are taken up with that. So, and we've had to increase our port density because of that, so buy more switches for the schools. Our IP speakers, beacon, zone controllers, we've added those by schools, and so what we're trying to do now is get the uniformity up. So that was where phase 2 came in. Last year we had the state grant that allowed us to complete IP speaker clock in every classroom, and they look like this. They've got white lights for just general announcements. They've got blue lights for when a lockdown drill or a lockdown, if it were to occur, would come on. We ran, as the technology department, we ran 175 network drops from closets out to classrooms last year. We got the clocks in the fall, and so we had all of them installed by the time January hit this year. The grant total was about $134,000 to get all of those clocks in place. We had, we also added, cameras, outdoor speakers, and just want to also say, this is Brendan Bush. He's a technology intern. He's a technology technician. He was in our intern program for 3 years, and now he's been working in his 3rd year with us as a full-time employee. Brendan and Jeremy Brandon, along with, I think, 6 interns, did the lion's share of that work last year. And they did a really phenomenal job, and so I want to make sure that everybody knows that that was something that they really took. They took it to heart, and they wanted to get it done, to get that into the classroom as quickly as possible. So phase 2 is now done, so it made us step back. We went through the lockdown drills early this year, and so then we wanted to identify where are the weak spots still and how can we address those. We have, we've really identified a couple things. The blue light emergency beacons, which we'll give a demo of in the end. That and outdoor sound is where we really need to tackle the most right now, because those are where the weak spots are. We've got schools like Farman that have never had any outdoor speakers put in place. We've got schools like the high school that have most of them in place, but maybe Colt Field needs another one, or something behind the school, somewhere where if there's a student or a class outside, we want to make sure that they know if something's going on. We also have some system configuration changes that we identified, and we're looking at some mapping systems, and I'll explain that a little bit on the next slide, but I also want to thank our incredible ASO SRO team, because after every lockdown drill, the administrators, the ASO SROs, and the tech department, we meet up and we go through and talk about all of the possible holes, what went well, what we need to work on, and that collaboration has allowed the system to really get some steam and go quickly. JD McElroy, one of our ASOs, I asked him to be here. So, but it's great, and I get text messages or emails from him just saying, "Hey, have you thought of this?" Or what?
Well, sorry, and I just want to say his team is amazing. Like having them come on site instead of trying to explain what we need through an email, and having them there has been hands down phenomenal. Your guys' team is hands down, like your support, everything that they do. I ask, and they're like, "Got it, done." So amazing. So sorry.
So the first thing is our lockdown configuration, some things that we identified in December through January, and make the audibles last longer when the lockdown starts. So that's done and ready for the next wave. The blue lights need to stay on during the entirety of the lockdown drill. Where it is, it only comes on when sound comes over the speakers, and when the sound's over, the blue lights would stop. And so we had to morph and use audio software and create these long stretches of just nothing audio just to keep the blue lights going. So we have our first test of that this week at one of our lockdown drills. The volume of the messages is increased because when you go out and ask the admins to record their messages, they're very calm in their office and they don't want to create, so they say it very calmly and it's pretty quiet. And so we downloaded all of them, beefed up the audio a little bit and gave them more sound. We made it so there's text messaging groups, so we have an administrator for each building gets a text message when a lockdown drill or a lockdown were to happen. The district administrators, the tech team, the ASO SROs, everyone gets a text message. There's a lockdown at such and such school, so they know immediately when it goes off. We're upgrading NVRs in 2 locations. 2 of our NVRs, as of the camera systems, are starting to get old, so we're replacing 2 of those this year. We're going to rename all of the cameras so that it has the building code and a number. And then we're going to sync those up with maps so that dispatch will have access to these maps. And if there's some kind of a live event, they can look at the map and they can look at the camera and say, I just saw something happen at SH-03. And they'll know exactly where that is, and then they can talk to people on the ground and get there quicker. And then we're creating maps for each of those locations. If there's time at the end, I'll show you one, but these maps have, it's basically a map of everything in the building, including the lights, the beacons, all the way down to water shutoff and electrical. All those things are on the maps, and dispatch will have a copy of all those. So one of the things that has been hard for us to be able to finish is this equipment is really expensive. This light is about $513 for one of them, and this is an outdoor light. So it's contained, it's not going to get water damage or things like that. And then the indoor lights, that's just a model of this, it's mostly just the white part of that light, those are $395 each. Okay, and so when you start looking at needing to add hundreds of those to the school district, it's really expensive. And so we sat back and we thought, okay, what can we do R&D wise? So we identified some LED lights and we ordered them. We designed a housing unit. I don't know, did you bring your cardboard one? Okay, so he sat down and we talked about it, and he just created a cardboard models of all of these, and he took those into a high school student in our CTE department, Colby. Colby is here tonight. He took those in, and Colby designed those, and he put them into a 3D model. And then he printed out prototypes for each of these. Brendan would go in and pick them up. And then we assembled the lights, and the indoor-outdoor light, and just an indoor-outdoor light like this one with 3 costs about $15 for us to make. And the outdoor one with a high lumen, and you'll see the difference when we turn these on, those cost about $110 to make, because these lights alone are about $35, and we put 3 of them per assembly. And then the nice thing about these two is in here, it's got it all locked up for me, but in here we have a switch, and this switch then goes into the cabling, and these cables can be piggybacked. We don't have to run a home wire to each one, so we can do wire.
Daisy chain them.
Yep, daisy chain them all along. And so that cuts the cost down, and also cuts the installation time and cost down. Okay, and then we have one model that's weather sealed for outdoor, and then one that's indoor that doesn't need to be weather sealed. So then we have these things called zone controllers, and those zone controllers run called power over Ethernet. You plug it into the switch, and it can give a certain amount of power to it, but it could only give enough power to run about 4 of these lights. And it just wasn't cost effective enough. So we thought, okay, how can we make these so that they can run a multitude of lights and get the cost down? So we went back to the drawing board, and we created this little box that has a switch in it. It's just an on-off switch that comes from the network panel. This is just a Napa relay that runs the power through, and this is just a power brick from a laptop. So this is our prototype model. We did have the district electrician run through it. It's all safe. So this is just the prototype model. The actual model will have more. It'll go up to 24 volts. It'll have a little more amperage. It'll be able to run. But our first test, we were able to run this over about 800 feet of cable with like 20 to 25 lights on it. And so the proof of concept was there that this will work. And so when you amortize that over, like you say, 15 lights with the cost of the box, and you take that, it's about $47 for an indoor-outdoor, and about $142 for the outdoor model. So when you take all that together with the amount of lights that we are wanting to run, this is the slide that's, I mean, for the board,
pretty impressive.
The best one. Okay, so when you look at the cost of the outdoor lights with the switch and port density, it could be about $143,000 to get all of these lights into the schools. When you look at the ones that we're building ourselves with the switch relay boxes, it's about $17,000. So it's about $126,000 in savings, which means we can absorb that directly into the tech budget and have this done over the next year. Okay, so now we're going to just show the demo. If you have any sensitivity to light, these are very bright, so you might want to just beware. Kind of just come into it slowly.
Put on your safety squid.
Okay.
Oh, those are good.
There they are. So these, this model, right here, this one will be for ceiling mounts, for under soffits and in ceilings in schools. The other one right next to it will be a wall mount that will go, so that we just wanted to make it so it was 3-sided and covered it all the way through. I really can't say enough about Brendan designing the box prototype, sending it to Colby, and within a matter of days he had printed out versions for us to be able to use. And then, you know, I'd be like, okay, Brendan, we have to test this, and he would put together, you know, in there putting together 30 lights to test it and to get the proof of concept ready to go. So we have a great team, and I'm really proud of this project.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, you guys are like the adult version of what we saw happening at the STEM school, with a huge savings. That's very impressive, and really, actually, I hope you guys had fun tackling this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any other questions before Mrs. Meyer?
Thank you to Cody, to the students.
Yeah, seriously.
Thank you. That's excellent. Thank you.
Colby also just finished a NIC dual credit class. He just finished on CAD. Or SolidWorks. SolidWorks?
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you for your work on this. And we are going to move straight along to Mrs. Meyer presenting on local scholarships.
Good evening. Thank you guys very much. I'm Geraldine Meyer, post-secondary transition counselor. Angie Dale's our college and career advisor. And I'd like to thank Trustee Peters for encouraging us to come and just present, because there's been some information about our local scholarships and we'd like to share this. One of the things I think is just so important is that our community is so generous. And this is about Sandpoint High School, Lake Pend Oreille High School, Clark Fork, Forestburg, Priest River, homeschool, private school. It is a community event. So just the stats. In 2015, thanks to a PAFE grant, we moved to a common scholarship application. And we have 90 scholarships just this year. And this is just to give you an idea of last year, Sandpoint High School seniors alone earned $230,000 just in local scholarships. Clark Fork was $91,000. And I know LPO and others had lots of dollars as well. I just don't have those numbers. But it's something that, you know, is just amazing. And I think what's incredible is that this is for students who are in college or in a trade or a tech program or in a 2 or 4 year program. So they can be high school seniors or they can be out there and have kind of proven themselves for a year and coming back. So why did we move to a common application? To streamline, make the program so much more efficient, uniform, easy for our students and for our organizations. It's seamless to add a new scholarship. And the other thing is it's just one place where students didn't have to jump over here and jump over there and jump to another website and then that link was broken and it didn't. We help manage all of that. And then how the students choose to participate. So again, students choose if they want to participate. They complete a base common application. And then students choose a cover sheet. We call it a cover sheet, which is basically the organization's way of identifying what their scholarship is targeting or who it's for. And so then we have students, and then they assemble those packets and bring it to, the due dates are April 10th. So this is just a couple samples. Go ahead, Ms. Kelly. This is just a sample of our website. It's all on the Sandpoint High School under the counseling tab. This is just kind of where students land when they're driven there. This is just kind of the base scholarship application. It is just, you know, it's 4 pages. You can go to the next one. What? There's 2 more pages. There. This is, oh, go back. Go back. You're so fast. There you go. And then there's also a 2-page, so there's some short answer, some just information, and then there's a 2-page essay as well that students include with that packet. This is a sample of Community Assistance League. This is their cover page. So this is kind of what their selection criteria. Some are maybe particularly, you have to be going to a school in Idaho. Maybe you have to be a STEM major, you know, particular, whatever their criteria is. This is a very general, open to all. And then this is one that's a little bit, you can see it's very similar, but then this is the Bonner County Sportsman. They have some things that are very important to them, more about outdoor and conservation activities, so they ask the students to do a couple short sentences. Some maybe have, you know, an optional short answer or essay. It just depends on what that group wants to. And what is so nice about this and groups appreciate is they're able to customize it for their, you know, if they're maybe the, you know, education and why that's important, or whatever is important to that group, their mission, they're able to customize it to them. This is kind of just our timeline. We reach out to organizations and confirm scholarships in December, and we are able to add new ones very quickly. This year we've had 2 new ones, one for our continuing students in college, and then one, the Cakery, they're doing one for female entrepreneurs. So, you know, it's really easy. The groups like it that they can just, it's so easy to add in. February, the scholarship site opens and students are welcome to apply. Due date in April 10th. And then the end of May, scholarship ceremonies happen at schools, or some groups choose to honor their students at their own ceremony like the Elks. And then I think it's just amazing when students come back after they've been away at a college or a trade school or something, and they come back and they say, no other community has this kind of a program. They talk to their friends, their new friends, and they're like, I got this much money from LPO, and they're like, you didn't? They think this happens everywhere, and it really doesn't. It is amazing how generous our community is, and I think it's so important that we have managed to build this process, have over 90 different scholarships for our students, and it's streamlined, it's uniform, and it's easy for organizations and easier. It's not easy, it's work if students choose to participate. So that's just an overview. What questions? I could have gotten into the weeds for like hours, but I know you have a full agenda. But are there questions?
I've been to one of the presentations in May where they're handed out, and it's absolutely, I just tear up. It's so, it's overwhelming and impressive. So thank you for organizing it. Are there any other comments or questions?
Will that date be given to us? Will we be able to know that?
Yeah, so Sandpoint High School has their own date, Clark Fork has their own date, and LPO has their own date. Yes, we will be glad to share those all with you.
Yeah, it's pretty
and then
impressive.
Some groups like Elks, some of them, they do a dinner and invite people to them, but yes. Okay. It is amazing. It is
really cool.
Yeah.
Makes you so proud to live in this community. It's just amazing. And the fact that they just do it for so many different reasons. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're just running along, and we invite Dr. Joy Jansen up. She's our director of
Do you want to click or you want me to
Special
click?
Educational Services. How do you say it? SEC.
Services for
So I'm going to give
Services
you a
for Exceptional Children.
I'm going to give you a quick update sort of over all federal programs.
Okay.
We're going to start with our SEC. So both the Idaho Department of Education and LPOSD collect parent survey data. We've been doing it we do it every 3 years. So we have data from 2023, and then they did a survey in 2022. So I'm going to share those with you real quick. For our IDE, their parent involvement survey, I'm sharing with you the strongly agree. They looked at early childhood all the way through secondary, so 12th grade, and in transition program, and they surveyed 160 parents, and they only had 39 participants, but this is the information that we received, which I'm very proud of. My SEC team works very, very hard. So for teachers and admin, they treat me as partners when we are developing my child's IEP. We are at 92%. My child's school includes the ideas and suggestions that I share at the IEP meetings. We're at 92%. My child teachers communicate with me about my child's progress on their IEP goals. We're at 92%. And I am comfortable contacting my child's special education teachers with questions or concerns at 95%. Do you have any questions about that? I flew through that.
No,
it's amazing.
Impressive.
I mean, I have to say, for
That's
our
good.
state data, it's incredible. For our survey, we did it a little bit differently with my leadership team, because the first year we actually did the parent involvement survey. We did it the same as the state, but we didn't feel like our different subcategories didn't feel like it was meaningful enough. So we developed an early childhood parent involvement survey. We developed a K-8 parent involvement survey, and we have a secondary one. We have some demographic questions that are actually the same, and then we have other questions that are more specific to the actual subgroup. So we had, you can see the totals up here. We had a total of 125 participants, and here's the breakdown per subgroup. And what I tried to do is I tried to align our Idaho Department of Ed survey with the parent survey and what I share with you here. So at IEP meetings, I feel encouraged to give input and express my concerns. Early childhood 93, K-8 92, secondary 94. I understand what is discussed at meetings to develop my child's IEP. Early childhood 97, K-8 98, and secondary 91. My child's IEP is meeting his or her needs. Early childhood 93, K-8 81, secondary 83. I am satisfied with my child's overall special education program. Early childhood 97, K-8 85, and secondary 78.
We find this is very important to us as a team, and this is really about my child is learning skills that will enable them, for him or her, to be as independent as possible, because it is our job for our students for SEC to have the end in mind. Transition is one of our huge goals, particularly at the secondary level, but we start that conversation even as early childhood, right? So early childhood is 100%, 84% for K-8, and secondary is 81%. So, as always, there's always areas for growth, right? What we found in both, I would say the district as well as state, I provided you more with our district, is that it's in our activities. It's more, I will say, learning skills that will lead to college and career readiness, as well as what are those, we do transition activities with our secondary students, and so it's, I would say it's enhancing what those look like. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. Now what I'm going to go to is our federal programs. You told me I had 5 minutes. I'm trying to get to your 5 minutes.
You're doing great.
So this year, a new role for me this year, we did a transition. Casey was Director of Federal Programs last year, and I have taken it over this year with his guidance and mentorship. It is also, at the beginning of the school year, it was shared with us that we would have a federal programs audit. The audit started, our work started in September, October, and it ended on, we had our meeting on February 15th, and I would say the next week, because Angie Brass, who's amazing, and I need to give huge kudos to her, who helped me organize it, upload all the data, did all that really technical work, had our corrections, which we only had 3, which is unheard of and extraordinary, within the end of the week after we had our meeting. So the 5 federal program audit areas were improving basic programs, so Title 1A, Title 2, supporting effective instruction, student support and academic enrichment, and homeless children and youth, which is also known as McKinney-Vento, and then our equitable services. Oh, that's me, sorry. Whoops. So our audit sections and findings, we had, 8 of them. And so student identification, all of the blue, I guess you call it a blue, we had no findings in. The document is over 65 pages. The amount of documents we uploaded from October to February were thousands. It's very, very intense. For us, for a district, only to have 3 findings is incredible. And I say that is not, I mean, yes, Angie and I did a lot of work, Casey, Andrew, we all, but that is the demonstration of our team, right? Particularly our federal programs team, our title teachers. So I highlighted program needs assessment services and evaluations. We had no findings in that area. We had no findings in our McKinney-Vento. Our federal audit, Chuck Orr says that's unheard of. I'm going to say that a lot. To really highlight that piece. We had, in our foster care, all of our documents, they told us that our documents are probably the best that they've ever seen. So they're huge kudos to that. Our FACE, which is all the hard work of all of our title teachers, the elementary across the district, we had no findings, unheard of. They loved it. They were like, it's probably the most organized, which I go say to Angie Brass. And also we had a meeting with them to help and support them. Our school improvement. I don't know if you guys know this, but we have no targeted schools in the Lake Pend School District. That demonstrates the level of intensity but high quality of work that we do in this district. And the other 3, we didn't have any findings either. The one area we had was equitable services. And I will say Brian and I had conversations about this, but in most, I would say in most audits, they would have been probably recommendations, But I will say secretly, I think they wanted to find, they always want to find something. So two of them were more technical. The other one was program services. The technical piece was more of a funding piece. They wanted us to provide them subcodes for the next time. Very simple. And then the other one was for our program is our private school. We only have one private school that we work with at this point in the Lake Pend School District. And within the rubric, they asked that we rank their educational needs, or the private school rank their educational needs, and no ranking needed to be done, but they still demonstrated that we still needed to have that in there. So that's why I said some of these, I think, honestly, my professional opinion is they should have been recommendations and not findings. So. And then, so within our audit that all of us, they gave us so many kudos. I will say I asked Chuck to sort of write a comment that summed everything up, and this is what he sent me. This is one of the cleanest reviews that I've ever participated in during the 2 years I've been working on federal program monitoring with the State Department. You were so well organized, and it really showed with the results of the review. I can't say more about the team here, and high gratitude to SEC and Title for all that they've done. So,
thank you.
The one last thing to share is that because of the federal review, Angie and I have been asked to speak at the Federal Programs Conference.
Way to go. Kudos to you and your team. Yeah, great. Thank you, Dr. Jansen. Woo, the moment you've been waiting for. Finance report. Welcome. We are welcoming our Chief Financial Officer, Brian Wallace.
Chair Lewis, members of the board, Dr. Meyer. We'll go through the finance report real quick. I will, for the federal programs audit, say that Joy and I were a good team because she was the good cop and I was the bad cop. For the finance report, same format. The big thing that happened, at least in this reporting, is we actually recorded our first big payment of property taxes. You can see that for the monthly activity, $7.5 million of local property taxes came in, and so we definitely want to acknowledge that and thank our community for supporting the district. The second half of that payment, roughly, the $5 million or so, will come in pretty much in June or in the summer with the summer payments that people make on the property taxes. We also had, a little over, $3.6 million that came in with the foundation payment for February. So really, as far as, the cash flow of the school district, right now we're sort of at a high of the year when we get those payments in. And now we start sort of going down as our revenues, we get a little bit in May and a little bit in July and June, but really our expenditures, start catching up to our revenues is what happens. On the expenditure side, again, you can see that our total expenditures every month for the general fund were around 3.6 million, so we're tracking right there. Overall, we're tracking fine. Our revenues year to date are a little bit slower than previous years, and some of that, may have been just the way some of the state payments came in and stuff like that, but we look like we're doing okay so far. The next slide's just, again, you can see under expenditures by object, we're about halfway through the year, through February, so we have, March through, really it's June, but then two big payments are really August and July. Payroll still sort of gets charged back. Yeah. So we're really about halfway through the year. The one thing that really has slowed up is that our supplies, our purchase services, and things like that spending, they'll do some final spending there, but really that's sort of done for the year. Most of it will be salaries and benefits at this point, and of course, our standard. Revenues, you can see, we have received the majority of our dollars for the year. We have sort of the second half of our supplemental state revenues. We're climbing up to that top, and those, we'll get near there, and that'll come in May and July. And then the other sources are there, and of course the other local with our interest, that's higher than the budget.
Yeah, that's always nice.
Yeah, that's good. Enrollment report, you can see that from actually our year-to-year comparison, this year we've done a good job keeping hold of the kids. We're only down 13. At the start of the year, the you said from the snapshot in time is more like 100 kids down. And we gained 3 kids from the previous month. So we're sort of tracking fine. As far as revenues from enrollment, it's good to see that the kids are still there, but as far as the big reporting periods are sort of done, so this doesn't really impact our funding anymore, but it's good to see that we're keeping those numbers up. I did want to have a couple items of note. The first one is a pretty big deal for, actually would be for the district and, especially for right now the finance team, is that we're changing our fiscal HR system. And I might have mentioned it at another board meeting, I can't remember. But then we're going to Skyward. Skyward's probably used in more districts across the state than our current software called Tyler. I've used it at previous districts. One of the reasons we decided to go with the change is that we just have a lot of systems that are still done by paper. We're using this system over here, this system over there. And so what we're really trying to do is that, for example, our HR system is that when we have our onboarding, right now it's a third-party software. So eventually when we get it fully implemented, it's going to start in phases. When we have HR on board someone, and if they're hired, they're going to roll into our HR system. We're not going to have to go retype it in. Same thing with, if there's a more integrated employee portal where employee can get information on time off, vacation, a check estimator, things like that, get their tax information. We'll be doing the budget and all that reporting in the financial management system. And then the other big one that really, the big change is payroll, and it makes us the most nervous because that will roll out live in July. But eventually, once we get things going later in the year, we're going to try to get away from the paper timesheet, for our employees that turn in a time clock, and that's a big change. But it's something we just need to start moving forward in these areas. So that's just FYI that that's happening right now. I had this up in the January report. Just want, so here we are, March, April. We're looking, you can see the state funding. We should get, in 2 days, a pretty good idea what the state's going to decide on how we move forward on our state funding. Once we get that, we can really start estimating our state funding and then start working on estimating our salaries and our expenditures for next year. I know in the past, I'm still learning the Lake Pondere way, but I think Ms. Halls used to give sort of a budget presentation at the April meeting, and so I think we'll plan to do that next year with more updated information, really how we're sort of developing the budget with the admin team. Our focus right now is really, direction from Dr. Meyer is, I want the resources to go to the strategic plan to support what we're doing and keep things moving. So that's really how our resources are going to be spent, and what we're focusing on, keep what we're doing and align with that. So for the budget development. But we'll have the April information, maybe some more information in May, but then in June is the official budget hearing. Okay.
Perfect.
I'm here for questions, and that's it.
Are there any questions? Thank you
All right,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you. We'll clap for you.
Okay,
We're moving straight into our superintendent.
And this is probably the quickest one I've ever done. So if you're new and you haven't seen this before, I'm going to talk. We had a lot of presentations. Normally we don't have this many presentations. So we're usually done with this part by 6:30, so we're a little bit behind. But just reminding everyone that our focus this year is really connections, every student, every day. This is the strategic plan the CFO Wallace talked about. Students are always at the center of everything we do. So addressing the facilities, what we've done this month, just want to make sure that the board comes on Wednesday, April 17th to be at Sandpoint High School, and we're really looking at student safety. We're sending this out to all private schools, Christian schools, charter school, all of our schools, and we really want to focus on trying to help our parents know what's happening online, their mental health, drugs in our community. So it's really important. We're going to try to get as many parents as possible. We have articles going, lots of publicity, so hopefully all the administrators and all the counselors and hopefully all the board will be there. Our long-range facility planning, we are going to have our next meeting here. We did that priorities I told you about last board meeting. We did prioritization, and then we're going to funnel that down and make sure at the next meeting that people have, everyone has their voice heard. We walk away with a set of priorities, and then we'll see, we did some videoing at Clark Fork. Some people might want to drive out there. Some people might want to just look at the video. So we're going to give them the option, and then we'll be coming hopefully to the board. We want to present in June to you so that you can hear what the committee's work has been. Student Connections, this month we've wanted to share with you about Climate Connection. You will see that we won for the second time. The last time we won it was when I was the principal there, and we won it in boys basketball. So this is the second time in the history that we know of Sandpoint High School that we won the State Sportsmanship Award. And so it was funny because last time when I was the principal, we won. Tyler Haynes was the coach, and now, and so pretty cool. Second time. It's a really big award for the whole state. So thank you to Sandpoint High School administration and AD to help with that. Looking at recruiting and retaining, I just wanted to point out that this challenge for this staff wellness, the district office team won. So you can see our little district office team won. Woo! And they passed on the stickers to you so you guys would have this.
Got a sticker. I feel like a winner.
Yes, there you go. Next year the board is gonna join. They're gonna have a joint, and Casey, Andrew, and I are gonna join too. So we couldn't really do with Casey with
We're gonna have carrots here instead of cookies. That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna take away our cookies.
Reminding you the community connection and our communication. This is our February loop, the first one that Annie's done. She's in the back taking pictures. If you want to see all the prior loops, they're linked in right here. And student learning, just wanted to let you updated know that Monday we started ISAT. So it's a really big deal, and we have lots of focus. We're looking forward to seeing a lot of growth for each individual child. By law, giving you the quarterly open enrollment update. Reminder that those were due February 1st, the applications, and I have to let the parents know if they're accepted or declined by March 29th, the day before spring break. Here is our enrollment report. Brian's was last Fridays and mine's Monday, so we're actually up a few since, I think it's maybe this first. Anyway, this is the enrollment report. And then this is the open enrollment report, how many seats we have available in the district. And remember, a negative notes that there's no seats available. So, yeah. Any questions for that? Next month, I will have the report for how many applied, and similar to how I did it at the beginning of the year. But remember, we changed, the state law changed to February this year. So we can't, I'll still give you a report after school starts, but we have to make the notifications by March 29th. Okay, every student, every day, making great connections. Any questions?
Thank you. Gosh, everybody's talking so fast.
Didn't the boys made it to state for the third time in our history as well, right? Yeah. Basketball?
I don't know if it's the third time, was it?
It's the first time in 19 years, I heard.
So the last time we went was when I was the principal, but it's only...
It's 2009.
Yeah, when I was the principal in high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive. We're going to move on to public comment, and we have one. I would just like to give my little plug here really fast. Board of Trustees welcome patron comments. From the community, comments are limited to 3 minutes, must be appropriate, open forum, must not identify individual personnel or students or be abusive, defamatory, obscene. Board meeting held in public, not a public board meeting, thus we don't discuss or give responses back. Welcome, Corey Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Corey Johnson, and I'm a science teacher over at Sandpoint High School. And I'm here tonight just to share a quick summary of the science circuit that we just had. This is past Friday. We haven't had the science circuit for almost 4 years now because COVID kind of threw a wrench into everything. And so we were unsure on how to bring it back. But it had been going on for, I believe, about 6 years prior. So we reached out to all the 5th and 6th graders in the district and invited them to the high school. And quite a few students came. I don't know our official numbers, but I'm thinking around 400 or 500 overall came in.
Wow.
So it was a good showing. And really, I'm really proud of our students. So we had honors anatomy and physiology, honors chemistry students, and honors physics students. And they all selected a particular topic of interest. And so over the last 6 months, our high school students did a lot of background research. They designed their exhibit or their booth. And yeah, I think it went really well. Yeah. The exhibits were super interactive, which was nice. A lot of fire, which made me nervous for quite a bit of the time. Let's see, we had acids, and there were some things, but our students were super safe. And when you have that many like 5th and 6th graders, moving around the gym, but I think everything went really well. And it's really nice to see our students, put so much hard work into this. And some of the students, actually, they remember when they were in 5th and 6th grade. And they're like, oh, I remember going to the science circuit. Now we actually get to be the teachers.
That's great.
Yeah, so they took a lot of ownership, and I think they were super proud of themselves as well. So yeah, I want to thank all my students, and I want to thank administration at St. Point High School for doing all that organization. So thank you.
Well, I will, we aren't supposed to, so I would encourage, let's see. No, we're going on for first reading of policy. And who is opening up for first reading of policy here?
So these Ps are just for procedure for your FY. You don't have to vote on these are just for you to look at.
Yep.
You can certainly let me know if you have any questions. The only thing we've done, board, is that, and I told you about this, is we added a step where they would meet, the family would meet with the district leadership team, then they would meet with the board in executive session before they go to the prosecuting attorney for habitual truths. So those are the only things we've updated on those policies.
And the reason
procedures
that there's so many of them is because each school has to have their own, because each school has slightly different.
The secondary, but elementary is all the same, and then each of the secondary.
Elementary is the same, and then we have all the. So, do you have any questions on those 5 procedures that you see?
No.
They all have essentially the similar change. So then we'll go on to the first reading of 3081, which is the school restroom and changing facility access and overnight lodging. There's revisions on that one.
Did we just not ever catch that?
We just
I know.
never caught that, correct?
I wrote that note.
Early, where were you?
Out of transparency versus calling it a clerical error, we're bringing it back. It says Coeur d'Alene School District right in the policy, and we're changing it to state Lake Pondere School District.
It's like, what?
Only a few months later, but I know that's what I wrote in my note.
That's the only change.
Okay. So that's not going to be a hard one to approve. And then we'll go straight on to, I know. Hey, are you judging the previous board?
No, I just, even though it's highlighted, I picked it up right away.
There you go. Moving right along, we have a first reading of a new policy, 9550, cybersecurity and data breach response.
And this is new, so we needed to introduce that.
Yes. And I'm still laboriously I'm opening that one. So hold on just a minute, don't get ahead of me, everyone.
And then what's the background on this one coming up?
Yep. Trustee Peters, we didn't have one. After discussing with our tech director, Matt Brass, who was just here earlier, it was strongly encouraged that we have one. He has reviewed this. All of those steps they've practiced in best practice already. So just having a policy that we can fall back on was recommended.
I think Matt is gone, but I had a question for, I'll lob it out there and we can discuss it between now and the second reading. Some of the response plan seems procedural to me. Do we want to embed it in the policy, or would it be better to have a procedure attached? Because it is much easier, much easier to change a procedure when you find, hey, this isn't quite how we meant it to work, if it's called out as a procedure, not in the policy.
Absolutely, that's a great suggestion. I could run that by him, and then of course our district leadership team. This was taken directly from a model policy through Idaho School Boards Association, but if we can break that out and create our own procedure and remove that, we could do that for you.
It just seems to be the steps that we typically would put in a procedure, but I'm open to it either way because I didn't have any complaint with the response plan laid out. It's just if they ever want to be able to be a little more fluid on that and change any of that response plan, it's a little harder to go through policy and change it than it is procedure. So that was my only comment. Are there any other questions on this?
I'm glad we got it.
If Matt has a chance to answer that,
okay.
I'm not directing him one way or the other. I'm just saying that was an observation.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions before we move on? Then I will hear a motion for consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I second that.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. And we go, moving so quickly now, I can hardly keep up. Hold on. So we have several board action items, and the first one is our off-site prom request from Clark Fork Junior and Senior High, who have waited very patiently. You had to earn it. You had to wait. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Casey McGowan, Assistant Principal at Clark Fork High School, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Heather Daniel, the junior class advisor.
Hello.
I'm Heather Daniel, the junior class advisor at Clark Fork High School. We don't have a cool slideshow for you, but I did bring some cool kids to ask your permission request. There you go.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I'm Cherish and Roxy.
Welcome. Make your request.
Oh.
Sorry. We were wondering if we could have our prom off-site at the Harvard Center on May 4th from 7 to 10 p.m.
Excellent. I will entertain a motion to approve the off-site prom request.
I make a motion to approve the off-site prom request for Clark Fork Junior Senior High School.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions for these lovely students? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you for staying for a whole hour and 12 minutes to do that presentation for us. And I hope you have a safe and really fun prom.
Drive safely.
Thank you, students.
Thanks for talking.
Okay, our second is the permission to surplus the Ford F-350, and we have Facilities Director Matt Deal here. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you. I'd like permission to surplus the truck.
Is there any? I'll entertain a motion to approve to surplus the 2006.
And if you're interested, I can even help you find the auction if you're a bidder, a potential bidder.
If you're in the mood.
I make a motion to approve the surplus of the 2006 Ford F-350.
It's the truck. The truck.
The truck.
Yeah. I second.
It's moved and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Matt.
I yield the floor to Mr. Fuller.
We're just gonna fly right through. It's gonna take me longer to find it on my, welcome now to Transportation Director James Killer, and here we go.
I'd like permission to surplus an older truck.
I make a motion to surplus the 1998 utility truck.
The other truck.
The other one.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. That motion passed. The slowest part of this meeting is me changing changing screens. And our
That was
next
pretty fun.
is the audit request for RFP. And we have CFO Brian Wallace back to walk us through this one.
So in your packet, a quick one-page summary of the process. In January, you approved us to go out for an RFP, which we did. We had 4 firms respond, and you can see the dollar amounts for the 5-year engagement. Our recommendation is to go with Hayden Ross, who was the second most economical for just pure dollars. And when you take all factors in consideration, we think they'll get us the best value. The one firm that was the lowest, they're sort of a Southeast Idaho firm. They do a lot of remote audits. I don't think they've been on site up here, so on the audit approach and stuff, we rated them lower for that. But the dollar savings are quite significant. Hayden Ross does a lot of audits for school districts, counties, cities, other districts throughout North Idaho, so they're a good firm. And then, of course, our current firm, who we work with, Magus McHugh, I mean, they're a high-quality firm, but just with all factors, we think it's a better move for the district to move to Hayden Ross.
Absolutely. I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the 5-year audit contract for independent financial audit services in the amount of $168,500 to Hayden Ross PLCC.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion?
I just did a quick question. Was our previous contract with Madison McHugh a 5-year deal also, or was it a year deal?
It was, I'm not sure on that. I know the last one we had was a 1-year engagement. It's typical of these agreements, you sign a 1 year with 4 years that you can renew, but you don't have to. But we asked for the 5-year pricing because we usually get better pricing. So the way we do the engagement is like that with the roll it forward with that option, yeah. And I think that's how the RFP was stated in that. So.
Are there any other questions for Brian? Then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
That motion passes. Thank you. And now we're moving along to our social studies curriculum adoption. And I'm inviting forward our Director of Secondary Education, Casey McLaughlin, and you can introduce your team to us.
Perfect. Will do.
Just a second.
I'm not the only one who's slow getting the paperwork out.
Okay. Just a second. It wasn't up.
There it is.
I'm just going to use the PDF.
Sorry, that's my fault.
That works. Okay. First of all, thank you. And I want to just thank the board. I came last month and just gave an update on their social studies curriculum adoption, that pilot, and I wanted to thank the board again for approving that pilot to take place. I'm going to let the middle school team introduce themselves and what grade level that they teach.
I'm Ann Dickinson. I teach 7th grade on world history, ancient civilizations, all that kind of stuff.
And I'm Kyle Yake, and I teach with Ann. We both teach 7th grade.
Sydney Weiner, U.S. History, rookie.
Alyssa Lyon, 8th grade history, U.S. history.
Welcome.
So this is something you've already seen, so I'm not going to spend time on it, but I just wanted to reemphasize that you do have this. This decision is not made. We try to be as objective as we can when we look into curriculum, right? Everything's done objectively, so we do follow the Idaho State standards. You can see them there. We make sure that the curriculums that we are looking at, we start on this Idaho State list. And of course, we go through and we're really looking for different vendors and what they have to offer. So we dug into each of those. And then that decision then is made looking at a rubric, and you can see just the 6 different topics or subjects that we look at on that rubric, which we discussed last time, so I won't jump into that or spend much time there. But we do look at these curriculums really with a fine-tooth comb, and we want to make sure that these are the best things for students. The curriculums that we chose, we talked last time about how the HMH did not score well. That was the first curriculum that we chose. However, the Cengage, which we're happy to report, did score well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then supplemental curriculum that we looked at was the Hillsdale 1776 curriculum. So we are excited to say that the Cengage curriculum did score well, so I'm going to hand that over a little bit to the 7th grade team, just to give you a little bit of their experience.
Want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. I just need to scoot over here so I can see my talking points. All right, so starting with the textbook, the difference was pretty stark between the two. As soon as the kids, because they had started with the HMH textbook, as soon as they got to the Cengage, like the first day, they're like, oh, we like this one so much better. I heard that a lot. Just the pictures, the way the text was laid out, just those things really the kids seem to prefer. On top of that, in the textbook, the lessons are shorter, so it's like a page and a half of reading versus, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the HMH and then a test right away, that kind of stuff. So this really allows the kids to read the information, and then we can add in the activities and the stuff that makes it come alive. Much easier than I think the HMH allowed us to do. So the kids, again, like that much better, because being able to experience it and do different things versus just reading and answering questions is just much more engaging for the kids. So that, I think, were 2 huge pluses right off the bat. The online resources we do like, because now we actually have a book, so that if a student is at home, we can take the pages from that book, assign it on Schoology, they can just click on the link and it goes right to those pages. So no more do we have to try and find reading for them to do or scramble to try and find something. They can read exactly what we're doing in class, or maybe we aren't reading out of the book, we're doing something that's in class, but they can still get the information another way. So it's really nice to have that option for kids to go home and do homework, or if they're gone, they can stay caught up with what we're doing much easier. So that has been really nice. I will say probably our one critique of this is that the online, for the world history piece, the way that the online resources are laid out, it's a little clunky. It can be a little hard to find materials. So that's one thing we've kind of been working through, and I think the more we get into it, the easier it is to find things, but it has been a little clunky. And while it does integrate with Schoology, which is really, really nice, we've had a few kind of things pop up where we've had some issues with things syncing, or how it appears in Schoology. And so, but the nice thing is when we've had those, we've contacted our tech department or their tech department, and it seems like most of them have been resolved, fairly quickly, or they tell us how to figure it out. So that's been kind of nice. It has wonderful activities in there for like extensions or other things that we can do. So when we sit down and plan, we'll look kind of at the scope and sequence and the activities that are available, and there's always some just great things available to us that we can use at any given time. There's so many that we can choose from, and that makes it really nice too, to again enhance that learning instead of just reading a book or something like that. And then it integrates well with activities that we've already developed. So I think Dr. Meyer was in, we were doing our aqueducts, and so that the kids built aqueducts. We've done that activity before, but it was really nice because they actually read about it in this book and learned about the engineering behind it. And then we went into this project that we've done before. And so it was just, we have a lot of those great pairings with this curriculum. So, we really have enjoyed this. The kids, their feedback has been much more positive with Cengage versus HMH. Questions about that?
Yeah, I'll just add briefly that as far as the student feedback goes, I remember like the old books last year, when we'd take them out and the students would groan. And when we took out these new books, it's just so much more engaging and really accurate content that, but you can see from some of the student comments down here, just how they really like it. And one of the things I really appreciated that one of the students pointed out in writing in our survey was that they appreciated having an actual physical book, which I really value as well, and which I just wasn't sure how they would respond to that, but that resonated with me.
Just so you know, I did include the rubric on there so that you can look at their individually. They did it as a team. You can look at their rubric. Didn't turn out super well because I didn't copy it and everything. So if you want to see that, come on down and let me know, and I can send you a PDF version of that. And then the student survey is also on each of these. So
I just clicked on it and it said, you did not have permission.
Oh.
That's fine.
Yeah. I went through that.
You can show it to me later.
I had to make it a docx and it was a real pain. Yeah.
All right, well, we piloted the American Stories by Cengage as well. The coolest thing I would say about the curriculum is that when we're piloting something, we're asked to do it with Fidelity, and it was not hard work to do something with Fidelity. They had creative activities, extensions, so many unique things embedded in the curriculum. Similar to what Anne's saying, very visually pleasing. I don't know how National Geographic's part of Cengage, but they have the visuals of National Geographic, and the kids are familiar with it. So it's a nice connection, really engaging activities. Every lesson, they have on your feet activities, so kids can move around the classroom, and it's not just static learning, and we both really enjoyed that part of the learning opportunity. Online, really easy once we got the hang of it. We had the same hiccups they did, but she can speak more to the online than I do. I'm a little old school in that way. A really great timeline to follow, really manageable lessons like theirs. It's just a page and a half, so it's not overwhelming. Again, just a timeline where students can follow what's going on, because history is cause and effect. What else can I, students call it the good textbook. So that's a good kudos. Our catch-22 is that the materials are short, so how in-depth they're going is negotiable, but at the same time it's just like an introductory to what they'll come into in high school. So it's really exactly what we are needing at the 8th grade level for U.S. history. So there's that. I don't know if you have anything to add about the online part of it. It's just not my...
The online is great. I'm able to give students an access code, and they have access to all assignments online through Cengage's website. I can also link assignments in individually into our Schoology platform, so there's different ways for students to access things. Some are easier on a cell phone, some are easier on their Chromebook, so that's brilliant.
We just did a feedback survey for our patrons as well, and for the teachers, which is linked, hopefully you can access it, linked in there.
Okay, yeah, Casey just asked me to talk about the patron experience. So just meeting the patrons that came to our meetings in the planning process. And we have a quote from Kristen Carlson, who just said, "I'm fully in support of the National Geographic Cengage curriculum. It's been my favorite from the very beginning." And definitely in those couple meetings, from what I could tell, the patrons who were there really were pleased with it. It didn't have any negative feedback at all. One thing that I noted was that another one of our patrons, Karen Remsen, who some of you probably know, when we were doing the HMH pilot, was noticing that online there was all sorts of supplemental resources teachers had developed to go with it, because it couldn't really, kind of presumably didn't really stand on its own as well. And we didn't find those needed extra resources for Cengage. It just had what we needed. But yeah, I think that the patrons were pleased with it as far as we could tell.
And unfortunately, our patron participation fell off toward the end, and we, which was fine, but you will see in that survey, a couple of the patrons did not answer the survey. So, and I've been texting back and forth with them, and they just apologized that couldn't follow through with it. So. The last piece is the supplemental piece, which is the Hillsdale curriculum, which I'll let Sydney speak to, since she piloted it in her classroom.
Yeah, I went for it. I've done other college-based curriculums that have been pushed out, but in the English discipline, so a little different. I will say it'll be a great supplemental text. It's really just a novel with a Q&A embedded. So if I was to score it on the rubric, it would score an NA in a lot of areas. But I don't want to discard it, because it is a good text. There's definitely something that kids can learn from it, but it's really just a chapter book and not necessarily a curriculum in itself. So that's my take on it. The kids didn't receive it as well as Cengage, again, because it's a chapter book. I found myself having to create around it. I did it for about a week or so, and then most of what we did was me, and not necessarily the curriculum, because there's not much, but I went into it with an optimistic perspective, so that's our take on it, but yeah.
And so finally, so cost of it, and this is actually great, because it's very difficult to price out curriculum. So for curriculum to be able to cover all 4 SMS classrooms plus Clark Fork 7th and 8th grade, and have classroom texts as well as a 6-year online access, be able to build in some professional development for our teachers to be able to utilize everything that they can within the program, and then of course teachers editions. That total will come out to approximately $67,000. Now the quote itself was around $61,000, and then we obviously have to have a few more textbooks in hand, and then plus the PD piece as well. So ultimately, what we would ask, we'd ask the board to approve the Cengage National Geographic curriculum for 7th and 8th grade. We do not need an approval necessarily for the supplemental curriculum, but just I guess a more of awareness that we have those books now and we will utilize them as supplemental in the classroom.
I make a motion to adopt the Cengage / National Geographic 7th and 8th grade social studies curriculum.
So is there any questions we have for them? And I did have a question for you on the cost. Is that already planned into our curriculum budget?
It is.
And I just wanted to say that for those observing and new board members. Thank you.
So we go through a cycle, a 3-year cycle of what we're looking toward. And really, it's more of a 5-year cycle, but we really hone in on those 3 years, the next 3 years of what we will be adopting. This was something that we had planned, that we looked at. Our textbooks were incredibly old. I taught out of them when I was there. I think I also learned from them. So
They're the ones that we have?
We have them. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure.
So that it's included in our budget.
Yes, and it's far under budget of what we thought was going to come out. So that's
Are there any other questions from the board?
My only question, and you already alluded to it, so maybe it's not answerable, but it seemed like there was a lot more patron involvement with the science curriculum. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
And, I mean, was it the same approach we took with this curriculum to get patrons involved?
I think I emailed more and contacted more parents for this because I wasn't getting a response. So I continued to contact, and I couldn't get much of a response from people that wanted to be involved. I did end up with 50%. I wanted a 5th person on this committee, but I could not find a 5th parent. And so I ended up having to not have the 5th person on the committee, which was too bad because you have that 50-50 to be able to do it. And then when we ran the patron input day, I had sent that out last week in advance, and we had advertised on Facebook, we sent it to the radio, we sent it to the Daily Bee, all over the place, and we did not have a single patron show up to actually review the grade.
It's not because it's not excellent.
And I did.
No, it's sad because I think history is one of the most important.
Absolutely.
As,
I did have a lot
probably you do too, as the teachers of this.
Unfortunately, I did have, the back and forth texts of patrons apologizing, hey, sorry, we didn't, but that's unfortunate.
So I will go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. Thank you, all of you. We are going to move into the approval of scope of work for the grant, the
Secure
SOS
Our Future.
grant.
So you
Secure Our
heard
Future
this,
grant.
you heard that our first phase, we had quite a bit of money the first time we got that first phase done. And this is the second phase. I have been keeping the board updated on the phase 2. And Kelly has been working nonstop based on feedback. So that priority list is from the District Safety Task Force team. We spent the last 6 months prioritizing and deciding, and then Kelly has been using her own time. I mean, I'm going to pay her, but she's been working after hours and on weekends writing the grant. And so we went through that with the District Safety Task Force team Monday night, and which was last night, I guess. It feels like it's all blurring together. So we need your approval for the scope of the work, which the overview is there.
Yep.
And we only could pick, as a reminder, one project per building. So we picked the most expensive program we could, project, so that we could get it on here. So we're hoping this is successful. And I'm a rater for I can't obviously rate ours, but I am a rater for all of the grants in the whole state, so I'll be able to see what grants are approved and not.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the grant scope that's been outlined for us and allow them to move forward with this application.
I make a motion to approve the scope of work for the Securing Our Futures Grant Phase 2 as presented.
It's moved and seconded. Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
It's very exciting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion
I do want
passes.
to, everyone already knows this about Kelly, but she is miraculous at writing grants. It's just amazing, so that's great. Another talent.
Her awesome, yeah.
In all of your
hidden
spare
talent.
time.
In all
Yeah,
of our spare time. Hey, this is the kind of grant that we can, hugely benefits us. It's amazing.
Amazing.
So at this time, we have the second
Reading.
reading. How come it's not on your? Okay, second reading of two policies, and the first one is the 2385, the English Learners Program. This is a new policy, which now I have to open. And as you know, second reading, we make a motion. We've all seen this. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, I will hear a motion to approve this.
I make a motion to adopt new policy 2385, English Learners Program.
I second that.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. The second one is deleting the supplemental educational services policy. Not needed, as you recall from our last discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to delete policy 2385, supplemental education services.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. With that, we've gotten through an enormous amount of content. Are there any administrative announcements, Principal Crawford?
Well, Dr. Meyer took my big one, which was our sportsmanship award, but that's okay. I'll just report on spring sports starting today. There was already a rain delay for baseball, but we're currently winning 9-5, so that's good. And we're sending academic down to state this weekend. They took third nationally last year, so we have high hopes to get this year.
Great. On that, before you.
Oh, thank you. And springboard to high school next Tuesday. We're inviting any new students to Sandpoint High School to get to explore our different departments, activities, athletics clubs, and just get a flavor for what it's going to be like to be a Bulldog.
I'm just going to add on to this, even though it's not but that whole sportsman scholar or award in this great letter that was addressed to Becky, it does say we'd like to recognize TJ Clary and Jackie Crossingham as positive role models at Sandpoint High School. Their leadership is very nice. Anyone else? Any other admin? Nope. No. We've heard from everyone. With that, hear a motion to move into executive session.
Oh, yeah.
He's got it.
I make a motion to move into executive session as provided for in Idaho Code Title 74, Section 206, subsection 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school student.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Trustee Wood.
Aye.
That's to be verbal.
Trustee Sherman.
Aye.
Trustee Peters.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Chair Lewis.
Last time I said here, and you guys didn't like that. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here.
Thank you to everyone who stuck it out to the end. You get a prize.